People are drawn to INFJs because of their warmth, empathy, and insight. But beneath that surface lies a set of natural tendencies that can feel terrifying to anyone who truly experiences them. One of the most terrifying things INFJs naturally do is see through people with accuracy. While most people rely on surface impressions or obvious patterns of behavior, INFJs seem to cut straight into the heart of someone's character without needing much evidence. They pick up subtle cues in body language, tone, and energy, weaving them together into an almost clairvoyant understanding of who someone really is. For those on the receiving end, this can feel invasive, like being stripped naked without ever having spoken a word. The scary part is that they are usually right. When an INFJ hints at what you're thinking, feeling, or hiding, without you ever revealing it, it creates a sense of unease that can linger for days. Another terrifying habit of INFJs is their ability to predict outcomes before they happen. Their introverted intuition functions like a radar, scanning beneath the obvious and detecting the trajectory of people and events. This is why they often warn friends or family about choices, sometimes insisting that something doesn't feel right. More often than not, the event unfolds exactly as they envisioned. To those who do not understand intuition, this predictive ability borders on supernatural. It terrifies people to realize that their INFJ friend or partner seemed to know something bad was going to happen without any logical explanation. The accuracy of these intuitive insights can make others feel both in awe and deeply uncomfortable, as if they are living alongside someone who is not entirely bound by ordinary human perception. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Playbook today. The link is in the description of this video. INFJs also have a terrifying quietness about them when they are hurt or betrayed. Unlike more extroverted personalities who explode in anger or vent their frustration immediately, INFJs retreat inward. This silence is unnerving because it hides a storm brewing behind calm expressions. People who wrong an INFJ sometimes expect dramatic outbursts, but are instead met with eerie stillness. It is in that silence that the INFJ begins to pull away emotionally, shutting the person out of their inner world entirely. Once the door is closed, it is nearly impossible to reopen. To be on the receiving end of the INFJ's silent withdrawal feels like being exiled into a void without explanation, and the permanence of their disconnection terrifies those who never saw it coming. Their empathy, while usually a gift, can take on a darker edge. INFJs often absorb the emotions of those around them like sponges. At times, this makes others feel uncomfortably exposed, as though their unspoken pain or secret bitterness is being siphoned straight into the INFJ soul. Without anyone saying a word, the INFJ may act differently, avoiding, withdrawing, or confronting, because they already sense the energy behind the facade. What frightens people is not just that INFJs feel what others feel, but that they sometimes express it back in ways the other person has never dared to articulate. This emotional mirroring forces people to confront parts of themselves they would rather keep buried, and many find that confrontation overwhelming, even frightening. Another terrifying INFJ tendency is the INFJ's ability to vanish emotionally and physically. They can be deeply present one moment, fully engaged in the lives of others, and then suddenly disappear, ghosting people without explanation. This is not done out of cruelty, but as a form of self-preservation when they feel drained or suffocated. For those left behind, however, the sudden absence feels shocking and even chilling. The person who once seemed to understand your soul better than anyone else is suddenly gone, leaving a void that feels impossible to fill. People describe this as haunting because once an INFJ pulls away, it feels final. Their tendency to hold deep grudges also terrify people. INFJs may forgive on the surface, but betrayal leaves scars they never fully erase. What makes this terrifying is not loud vengeance or open hostility, but quiet, permanent detachment. They may continue to smile, continue to be polite, but inside they have cut ties. The subtle but unyielding shift in their demeanor can make people feel judged, condemned, and frozen out, even if they cannot articulate why. Unlike other personalities who show their anger in visible ways, INFJs punish in silence, and silence can be more frightening than any outburst. INFJs are also terrifyingly private. They can know nearly everything about someone else's life, while revealing almost nothing about their own. This one-sided intimacy makes people uneasy because it creates an imbalance, being completely known while not truly knowing the INFJ in return. The mystery they maintain becomes both alluring and intimidating, leaving people with the sense that they're dealing with someone far more powerful and guarded than they appear. INFJs have a terrifying way of remembering the smallest details of people's lives and behaviors. Most people forget casual conversations or throwaway remarks, but INFJs hold on to them, storing them in the recesses of their memory. Weeks or even years later, they might bring up something you said in passing, connecting it to a present situation. This unnerves people because it feels like being under constant observation. You may not even remember your own words, but the INFJ does, and they can use that memory to gently or forcefully remind you of inconsistencies in your character. Their long-term recall often makes others feel exposed, as though their entire history is being watched and cataloged. Another terrifying tendency is their ability to create masks so believable that no one suspects what lies beneath. While INFJs crave authenticity, they also know how to perform socially to avoid conflict or to protect themselves. They can adapt their demeanor perfectly to suit the environment, convincing others they belong when in truth they are detached observers. This duality unsettles people once they realize the INFJ they thought they knew may have only been a carefully constructed version for that particular context. It makes others question how much of what they experienced was real. Their solitude is another unsettling trait. While many people get restless without constant interaction, INFJs can vanish into isolation for days, weeks, or months with no explanation. What terrifies others is that INFJs seem completely at peace in the silence. They do not fear being alone. In fact, they often thrive there. This unnerving comfort with solitude makes people realize that the INFJ's bond with them is never based on neediness or dependence. It is a choice, and the awareness that they could leave you behind without hesitation, because they are not afraid of aloneness, is a chilling thought. INFJs also terrify others with their ability to embody contradictions. They can be both soft and unyielding, nurturing yet ruthless, idealistic but strategic. One moment, they are warm counselors offering empathy and compassion. The next, they become detached visionaries calculating cold decisions for the bigger picture. This constant shifting between extremes confuses and intimidates people, because they never know which version of the INFJ they will encounter. It's like standing at the edge of a calm sea, knowing a tidal wave could rise without warning. Then there's their gift of seeing potential, and their willingness to push people toward it, even when it hurts. INFJs often recognize hidden strengths in others long before the person does, but they don't always reveal these insights gently. Sometimes, they confront people with harsh truths about their wasted potential or self-destructive habits. This brutal honesty, though usually well-meaning, can feel like a surgical strike on someone's identity. It terrifies people to be told, in vivid clarity, not only who they are, but also who they are capable of becoming, and what excuses are holding them back. Another terrifying trait is their ability to detach from emotions they once held deeply. INFJs love intensely, sometimes to the point of self-sacrifice. But once they decide that someone no longer belongs in their life, they can cut emotional ties with surgical precision. This sudden coldness is deeply frightening for those who once felt wrapped in the warmth of an INFJ's love. To go from being cherished to being invisible feels like being erased. It's not rage or hatred, it's simply absence. And that absence is often more haunting than anger. INFJs also often live with an intensity of vision that unsettles others because it transcends ordinary ambition. They are not content with surface-level living. Their goals and dreams often carry a larger-than-life quality, rooted in a desire to transform, heal, or rebuild the world in some way. Being around that level of vision can feel intimidating because it exposes how shallow or aimless one's own life might seem in comparison. People often find themselves both inspired and afraid of how much depth and conviction an INFJ naturally carries. INFJs have a terrifying ability to see patterns in chaos. While others are distracted by surface-level events, an INFJ quietly threads together seemingly unrelated details and uncovers a hidden story no one else has noticed. In conversations, they may suddenly reveal connections between people, events, and choices that leave others stunned. What unsettles people is not only that the INFJ saw what they did not, but that they did it so effortlessly, without research or evidence, just pure intuition. It makes people feel as if the INFJ is holding the master key to a puzzle everyone else thought was unsolvable. They also terrify others with their emotional endurance. While many break down under the weight of pain, INFJs often carry suffering, both their own and others, with a strange, almost stoic calm. They do not easily collapse under pressure, even when it seems unbearable. Instead, they internalize it, turning it into fuel for insight or compassion. This resilience unsettles people because it makes the INFJ seem unbreakable, and unbreakable people are both awe-inspiring and frightening. It forces others to wonder what storms must be raging within them that they never show. Their loyalty, though admirable, can also be terrifying. When INFJs choose to stand by someone, they do it with a devotion so absolute that it feels otherworldly. They will sacrifice, protect, and fight for those they love without hesitation. But this intensity of loyalty can frighten people who are not used to such unwavering commitment. It feels like being bound to a force stronger than yourself, one that could either save you or destroy you if ever it turns away. Their sensitivity to hypocrisy is another terrifying trait they have. INFJs are natural detectors of dishonesty and contradiction, and they cannot help but react strongly to it. They may not always call it out openly, but their sudden change in energy, whether through silence, distance, or piercing words, makes people feel exposed. Those who rely on manipulation or double standards often find themselves terrified in the company of an INFJ, because it feels like their carefully crafted illusions crumble instantly. INFJs also terrify people with the way they hold secrets. Friends, family, even strangers often pour confessions into their ears without prompting, as if compelled by some unseen force. What is chilling is that the INFJ rarely shares these secrets, yet they keep them locked away in their inner vault, layering their understanding of human nature with private truths no one else knows. People eventually realize the INFJ holds fragments of many souls within them, and the sheer weight of what they know makes others uneasy, because it means the INFJ could destroy reputations or lives with a single word, yet chooses silence. INFJs also terrify people with their uncanny timing. They seem to know exactly when to enter or exit someone's life. Often, they appear at a moment of crisis or transformation, offering guidance or insight that changes everything. Just as mysteriously, they may vanish afterward, leaving behind a trail of impact that lingers for years. This timing feels supernatural, as if INFJs operate on a higher clock than the rest of the world. People find themselves haunted by the thought, why do they show up exactly then? And why did they leave just when I needed them most? INFJs often terrify people with how easily they can detach from the material world. While most people are consumed by possessions, appearances, and external achievements, INFJs seem to hold all of that lightly, almost as if it doesn't matter. They can let go of things, jobs, status, even relationships, with a level of calm that unsettles others who cling tightly to their identities. It's frightening to see someone who could walk away from what most people define as life's foundation and not appear broken, but freer. Another terrifying trait is the INFJ's shadow anger. On the surface, they are calm, gentle, even soft-spoken. But when pushed beyond their limit, their anger is not explosive in the usual sense. It comes out with a sharpness so cold and precise it feels surgical. People often describe it as being cut to the bone by a few carefully chosen words. What makes this terrifying is that they don't rage blindly. They strike with clarity, and the wound they leave is unforgettable. INFJs also frighten others with their uncanny dreams and premonitions. Many INFJs report dreams that later come true, or symbolic visions that later connect perfectly with reality. When they share these things with others, it can be unnerving. For people who don't believe in intuition or the subconscious mind, it feels like they're dealing with something mystical. The idea that an INFJ could glimpse the future, even in small fragments, creates an unease that logic cannot explain away. They also terrify others with their silence during conflict. While many argue, shout, or defend themselves when accused or confronted, INFJs sometimes say nothing. This silence is not weakness. It's unsettling because it feels like they're letting the other person unravel themselves. Their quiet gaze during a heated moment feels like judgment, like they've already decided your guilt, and nothing you say can change it. That silence makes people more uncomfortable than words ever could. Another deeply unnerving trait is their ability to project different versions of themselves depending on the environment. Unlike manipulation, this is a survival tool. They can seem like the perfect employee at work, a spiritual guide in one circle, a joker among friends, and a philosopher in solitude. People who see multiple sides of the INFJ sometimes feel terrified, wondering which version is real. The truth, that all of them are real, layered, frightens those who are used to people being more one-dimensional. INFJs can also terrify people with their withdrawal into the abstract. They may suddenly become consumed with big, existential questions, life after death, the meaning of suffering, the fate of humanity, and speak about them with such conviction that it feels otherworldly. Ordinary people often find this jarring, because it rips them out of small talk and drags them into a mental abyss they'd rather avoid. To be around an INFJ lost in this mode is like standing at the edge of a cosmic void, realizing how small and fragile life really is. INFJs also terrify others with their all or nothing love. They either give themselves fully with an intensity that feels almost spiritual, or they give nothing at all. This binary way of loving terrifies people because there is no middle ground, no casual halfway presence. To be loved by an INFJ feels like being consumed, and to lose that love feels like being abandoned by the sun itself. That level of emotional polarity frightens people who prefer softer, safer connections. Their tendency to see both the best and worst in people at the same time can also be unsettling. INFJs can simultaneously believe in someone's highest potential while also being fully aware of their darkest flaws. This dual perception terrifies people because they feel completely exposed. Both their greatness and their ugliness are known. Most relationships operate on selective blindness, but INFJs don't play that game. They see everything, and holding that mirror up to others can be deeply uncomfortable. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Playbook today. The link is in the description of this video.